My cats resist to move. Very hot, North Herefordshire. Is that going dark because of thunderclouds, Linda? Not sure where you are. Yeah. Very hot in northwest London, I bet that is. Well, if nothing else, we can all just be amazed and delighted that pretty much we have consistently hot weather in the UK, apart from a few places that's unusual in and of itself. Anyway, it's 7 o'clock now. I think I've talked enough about the weather. Well, it's an endlessly fascinating topic. So I think I'll begin. Jocelyn, countryside in Scotland, lying on a yoga mat in the garden next to sheep in the field and a Zen garden. That is nice. Maybe we could all imagine we're in such a place. Lovely. Okay, excellent. So let's start. I was wondering what to do tonight. And, my own feeling is to do something calming in this kind of sleepy, hot weather. Also, it's the end of the day, and I think, many of us, we might have been working or just dealing with life, and there is this expression, isn't there, hot and bothered, that maybe some of us are a bit hot and bothered. So I thought we'd do something calming. And also, you'll know that I started doing these weekly meditations months ago in response to the pandemic, in response to the uncertainty of the pandemic. And that continues, doesn't it? It continues. It's changed. But if I'm honest, I notice in myself that it's not anxiety exactly, but there's a kind of apprehension I notice that we're now nearly in the middle of August, and somehow September feels like that's the end of our sort of summer. I mean, it's not literally the end of summer, but schools are going back. There's all the issues around that. And there's an apprehension about what the autumn and the winter might bring, which I think is not, certainly not neurotic, because it's probably quite realistic. But then it's how do we work with these things? Because we are at the moment in August and it's hot and it's summer holidays, and how do we stay present to that? We don't need to project into the future with that kind of apprehensive mind. And yet neither do we want to suppress that. If we sort of push away emotions because we don't want them, that generally doesn't work either. And one of the ways that mindfulness is sometimes described, there's a Buddhist scholar called Analayo who's done a lot of work on a text called the Satipatthana Sutta, which is generally considered the kind of core mindfulness text within the Buddhist tradition. And a lot of secular mindfulness draws on some of those teachings because they're universally applicable. They're about the human mind. And Analayo describes mindfulness as the middle way between suppression and reaction, or a particular quality of mindfulness as the middle way between suppression and reaction, which I find very, very helpful. So it's a state of balance, or we could say it's an awareness where we are noticing when we fall out of balance and then bringing ourselves back to balance. So it's not that anyone, I don't know a single person who lives a state of perfect balance, lives a life of perfect balance. But the skill, and I do know people who can do this, the skill is to notice when we're tipping into, say getting really caught up with thoughts and anxieties about what the autumn and the winter might bring with coronavirus and illness and economic difficulties and so on. You notice that with with a sort of kind acceptance, and then you can choose not to pursue that line of thinking, because we have with awareness we always have a choice. So you kind of notice, oh, I'm really caught up with this right now, and what we do is we come back to the body and the breath as the foundation. Or you might just feel a bit sort of stuck, dry, a little bit blocked. And when you explore that, you realize that you're suppressing these thoughts. You're not even allowing them to come into awareness. So you're not thinking them, but you're not fully alive. So if they're there, you notice them, you let them into awareness, but then you choose not to feed them, if you like. You choose not to pursue them. So I thought tonight that might be quite interesting for us to do a balance meditation where we can practice noticing what's actually present, and then choosing to let go of. And if we notice we've got anxiety or we've got a lot of thoughts about the future or the past or whatever, we choose to let those go and just come back to the body. And if you're feeling a bit stuck and numb, then we can warm that up. Well, go a bit closer. What's happening? What is it that I'm pushing away, that I'm suppressing? And allow that into awareness, and then acknowledge it and let it go. Because one of the a mindful life for me is a life that's very, very alive and vital, and yet calm. It's interesting. Sometimes we can think to be mindful is to maybe be a bit bland. And I'm not interested in a bland life. I'm interested in a very kind of full-blooded life, but one that's not sort of ensnared and entangled with the fabrications of the mind, all the things that my mind makes up that I can then get really caught up with or not. So we're really fully present, fully alive, but we have the skill of letting go of getting really caught up with things. So let's have a go at that tonight. We'll do it with body, with mind, and with heart. And the essence is to find this kind of middle way between suppression and reaction. So they're very, very interesting practice. Sometimes it's called suppression and indulgence. And indulgence is a little bit more problematic because it can sound pejorative. You're a bad person for indulging this anxiety, say. But I actually think indulgence is quite good, because we do sometimes. We just let our minds run away with themselves in a way that is quite indulgent. So I'll leave that up to you. I don't mind that language, because I find it kind of pulls me up short and wakes me up a bit. But if you think I'm a bad person for indulging these emotions, then you can just think of reaction. I've just allowed a reaction to get hold of me. Because we don't want to then judge ourselves for reacting. We definitely don't want that. It's normal to react. That's what minds do. But we can always insert this moment of choice and come back to center, which is being in the body and being with the breath. Okay, so let's get ourselves set up. Choosing your position. As I always say, choosing it carefully, wisely. What's my body calling for? If you feel you need to lie down, that's absolutely fine. If you want to stand, that's fine. If you're sitting, seeing if you can position your body so that you're going to be as relaxed as possible and yet alert. Good. And if you want to, you can close your eyes. Just wondering, Ollie, have you got this on speaker view for YouTube? Good. I'm sure you have. Good. Yes, good. Let's close our, as I say, close our eyes if that's comfortable. Otherwise, lower our gaze. And first of all, let's simply arrive here and now. So giving the weight of the body up to the chair or the floor or the bed. Taking a few deeper breaths, and then on the out breath, settling a little bit more. Feeling into the points of contact. Seeing if we can befriend gravity. And let's allow our awareness to drop down into the legs and the feet, hips and the buttocks first of all, finding our foundation. An image I find quite evocative is, if it's not particularly aesthetic, but I find it helpful, imagining that the body is a sack of grain. And you know, when you put a sack of grain down on the surface, it all sinks to the bottom. So we're allowing our weight to sink down into the legs and the feet in a similar way. We're just giving up to gravity and resting and settling. Feeling sensations in the legs, the feet, the buttocks, hips. Maybe there's a lot happening, or maybe they're dull or numb, or even an absence of sensation. But we can still be aware. And if the sensations are painful or uncomfortable, you may notice a habit of pushing these away. The not wanting mind. But seeing if we can let them be there and feel into their fluid nature. One of the wisdom aspects of mindfulness is seeing directly how everything is always changing. Even painful sensations have a flow to them. Now let's allow our awareness to pour up into the whole torso, the front and the back and the side. Feeling breathing in the whole torso. Maybe having a sense of the volume of the whole torso expanding in all directions on the in-breath and subsiding on the out-breath. And again, there's this flow of breathing, flow of sensations. If there's anything that we're suppressing, hardening against, pushing away, seeing if we can gently allow it into awareness. Maybe there's unpleasant sensations or pain somewhere, sense of tightness, tension somewhere. Very gently allowing it into awareness and feel into its flowing nature. If you're caught up in some kind of reaction about this part of the body, the whole torso, seeing if we can consciously choose to not feed that, but to stay with the sensations in the body. Rise and fall of breathing. Now what about the shoulders and the arms and the hands and the fingers? Let's allow our awareness to inhabit, drench this part of the body. And again, seeing if we can be alive and awake to our experience. Notice if there's anything we're hardening against, suppressing, pushing away, maybe discomfort or pain. If this is the case, let's let that into awareness with receptivity and tenderness and flow. Or maybe we notice we're caught up with some kind of reaction. Maybe we might have a discomfort and there's a worry about the discomfort. If that's the case, notice it and choose to drop it for the moment and come back to the basic experience of this part of the body. And now let's come up into the neck and the head. At this point, let's check our posture. So if we're lying down, checking that we're giving the weight of the head up fully to the pillow, the cushion, the floor. If we're sitting, let's look for balance. Seeing if we can have the head poised on top of the neck. So we're not holding on with effort and strain, it's just resting. Allowing our awareness to inhabit the neck, throat, base of the skull, head and face. So again, just noticing, am I suppressing anything, pushing anything away? Anything that's got a felt quality of resistance and hardness. If this is the case, then let's perhaps breathe into this area, soften, release. Let the flow of sensations be present. Be caught up with any reaction, carried away by something in relation to this part of the body. But notice that having this moment of choice where we choose not to pursue that right now, but to rest in the moment, in the body. Now let's broaden to be aware of the whole body. Sitting, lying, standing. Legs, buttocks, hips, torso, arms, head, neck. Let's see if we can have an integrated and whole experience of the body. All the different sensations rising and falling. The breath expanding and subsiding. Some of the feelings in the body will be pleasant, some of them will be unpleasant, some of them will be dull. Just noticing when you're tipping into pushing away or wanting more or being bored, disinterested. Always coming back to this point of balance. We're resting inside experience, inside flow. Now let's turn to our emotional and mental experience. With honesty, what's actually happening? Letting go of any ideas of what you think should be happening or what you would prefer to happen. Just doing a weather check. What's actually happening? And seeing if we can rest in this point of balance where we're neither pushing away and suppressing, nor getting caught up with reactivity. So there's a quality of openness and release in the mind and the heart. And one of the main attitudes to cultivate is curiosity. Non-judgmental. It can be very, very interesting to notice the pushing away mind, suppressing mind, and to release around that into presence. To notice the reactive, carried away mind and heart, and to release around that into presence. What's happening now? Just catching the mind, the heart, wherever it's gone. Noticing, is it tending towards pushing something away or getting carried away, getting lost, caught up? In that noticing, we have a moment of awareness, of choice, and we can let it go, come back to presence in the body, using breathing as an anchor for the mind or awareness. The last couple of minutes, let's let go of any effort whatsoever. And do a practice that's called just sitting, just lying, and that's all we do. We just be for a couple of minutes, absorbing the practice. No effort, no purpose. Now bringing a little bit of movement into the body. Doing this lot of intentionality. What's it like to be really present as we move? I'm just rotating my hands around my wrists. And I always find it so interesting to notice, do I want to rush? Do I hold my breath? Can I let go of that and just be with movement finding its own expression, its own rhythm with the breathing? Stretching if we want to, or just moving however you want to, opening the eyes and bringing the practice to a close. So perhaps forming an intention to take this quality of this middle way between suppression and reaction with us, or flow with us, as we re-engage with our lives, with the people around us, the world around us. Good. So it's time. But let's have a moment where, if you want to, you could write something in the chat box. Just say perhaps one word, one or two words of the effect of this practice for you. That will be interesting for us to see. Just as we come out of it, settle, calming, Jenny, calming. Balanced peace. Rest. Floaty, went very fast. Curiosity. Balancing. Deep breathing. Sorry, going too fast now, but... Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Kenny's saying could keep going. I feel that. I feel like we were just, something. And someone's saying lost the final 5 minutes and feeling unbalanced. So I'm sorry about that. I think you probably mean technically. So then just bring this quality to that feeling of imbalance. Because that, in a way, that's the practice. As I said, I don't know anybody who just goes through life in a state of complete equipoise, much as that would be very desirable. But the skill is, I'm unbalanced now. So what can I do now? Let's breathe, settle. What are the thoughts? How can I let them go? How can I come back to something more balanced? That is the practice. So that's the opportunity. Good. Someone's saying was feeling anxious about the autumn and winter and now feel better. That's wonderful, because I think we are going to have to work with that. It's very, very strange times. And I've got very good friends and family in New Zealand, and they've been leading a completely normal life and suddenly bang, back into lockdown because they've got some cases. So it's very, very unpredictable. And I think the more we can have this quality of meeting whatever arises, with this, neither pushing it away nor getting lost, that's amazing. It will be an amazing skill, because things will arise. We can't control life, but we can have initiative around how we respond to it. Okay, good. So what we could do is give you permission to unmute yourselves if you want to, and people can say goodbye to one another. That's always a nice thing to do. I often forget, but I've remembered tonight. And then we'll end the session. Yeah.
Kindness to all. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take
Care, Stefano.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. See you next time, next week.
Indeed.
Yep. You'll see us next week.
Yeah. Good. Goodbye.
And the recordings are on YouTube, of course.
Oh, good.
Good that you found your way back in from... So you just got SB there. I know you're from Tuscany. I can't remember your name. Is it Stefano?
Yes, it's me.
Yeah, good. You found your way back. That's great.
Yeah, I have lost I don't know, something didn't work with Zoom and it was freezed.
Yeah, was it all right for everybody else?
I asked on the chat if someone else had this same problem, but it doesn't seem like.
No, it must have been at your end. That's frustrating, isn't it? But now you, as I was saying, you have this opportunity to practice.
Yeah, it was an extra practice. I didn't really want it to do, but okay.
Yeah, that's many, many things that we have in life to practice we don't really want. Yeah, anyway, sorry to hear that happened, but see you next week. Yeah. And Ollie, there's the community of practice tomorrow night, isn't there? There's only a few people left.
There is indeed, yes.
So those of you who are part of our community of practice, there's an hour-long session tomorrow night from 7 till 8. And those of you who don't know what that is, if you go to the Breathworks website, it's somewhere there. I think it might be on the homepage.
It's on the online events.
Online events, excellent. And you can sign up. Yeah, brilliant. And MJ's leading it tomorrow, and he's a wonderful teacher. Okie dokie, so I'm going to go myself now and get out of this extremely hot, stuffy room. But I really love doing that practice with you tonight. So thank you all very much for your time and your attention and your commitment to presence.